The lecture hall smelled faintly of ozone and crushed stone, as it always did when Professor Vathar prepared the hollow slate for class. The crystalline being's jagged arms flexed with precise care, refracting light across the walls like 100 prisms. The alien university was a cathedral of knowledge, built for dozens of species with wings, tails, or carapaces, its vaulted ceilings shifting to accommodate whoever was speaking. Humans were a minority here, tolerated in polite theory, but rarely taken seriously. Alex Caro knew that better than anyone. He kept his head down, blended into the last row of the linguistic seminar, and let the sharp clicks and sing-song tones of alien speech wash over him. He had grown used to being underestimated. Humans were always the new ones, the newcomers to galactic stage, barely a century past their first jump drive. What did Earth have to teach a 1,000-year empire? That morning, however, something was different. Alex's stylus scratched rapidly against his notebook. Not the sleek hollow tablet every other student used, but bound paper book, pages already scarred with his cramped handwriting. He didn't notice the curious glances at first, nor the whispers. He only knew the shapes wanted out of his head. His hand moved faster than thought, carving curling glyphs, angular lines crossing and splitting, loops nested inside loops. The sound of the professor's voice cut through the murmurs. Caro. Alex froze. The stylus hovered mid-stroke. Slowly, he looked up. Professor Vathar stood absolutely still at the front of the hall, crystal facets dimmed. Alien classmates shifted in their seats, eyes, compound, multifaceted, or otherwise, fixed on him. Bring your writing here, Vathar commanded. Alex swallowed hard. Sir, it's just... Now. His legs carried him down the steps before he could think better of it. He placed a notebook into the professor's outstretched limb. Vathar tilted it toward the light. The reaction was immediate. Gasps scattered through the lecture hall. One scaled student actually hissed, her frills flaring wide. Alex blinked, confused. What? It's just notes. No, the professor said, voice like ice splintering. These are glyphs of the Shaitor, the Tarashi script. The words meant nothing to Alex, but they meant everything to the others. Whispers erupted. Impossible, extinct, where did he learn? I don't know what that is, Alex stammered. I've just been dreaming them. They come to me when I... Silence! Vathar snapped. The professor's limbs trembled, fine cracks running through the crystalline surface. This language is dead. It has been dead for 40 millennia. Not even our archivists can replicate its syntax. Yet you, he jabbed a jagged arm toward Alex, scribble it as though it were natural. I didn't mean anything by it. Alex protested. His pulse thundered in his ears. The alien students leaned forward, half fascinated, half afraid. It's just, when I close my eyes, I see the shapes. They want to be written. Vathar snapped the notebook shut and held it tight, as though it might explode. Class dismissed. Caro, you will accompany me. The hall erupted into chatter as Alex was escorted out, but he caught snippets. Shaitor? A human? Impossible. What if it's real? The professor led him down winding halls into a quieter wing of a university. Hollow lamps dimmed automatically, casting long shadows across stone and steel. Finally, they stopped at a sealed door inlaid with protective sigils. Vathar pressed his limb against the scanner, and the door sighed open. Inside was a chamber Alex had never seen, walls lined with relics, fragments of old tablets suspended in stasis fields, inscriptions glowing faintly under examination beams. It smelled of dust and ozone, but deeper than that, of reverence. The professor placed a notebook on a pedestal, surrounding it with containment fields. His voice dropped to a whisper. You do not understand the danger. The Tarashi script was not merely a language. It was a weapon, a code of reality itself. The Shaitor carved empires with these words. To see them again is... He trailed off, light dimming in his crystalline body. Alex stared at his own handwriting through the barrier. The glyphs pulsed faintly, as if alive. He felt a shiver run down his spine. I didn't copy it, he whispered. I didn't study it. It just flows out of me. The professor turned, facets gleaming with something Alex couldn't read. Fear, perhaps, or awe. Then, human. You may have awakened something the galaxy swore was buried, and the galaxy does not forget what refuses to stay dead. The chamber smelled colder the longer Alex sat inside it. The air recycled and filtered until it felt like breathing glass. His wrists rested against the curved surface of a restraint chair, not bound, but not free either. Around him, the walls shimmered with projection screens and alien faces. Scholars, archivists, administrators, and one figure draped in robes bearing the insignia of the Galactic Preservation Council. Professor Vathar stood aside like a warden. "Demonstrate," the council demanded, voice deep and resonant. Alex's throat tightened. "Demonstrate what?" "That you can write this language you claim to dream of. Tarashi, if this is forgery, we will know." A clean panel of white material slid forward. A stylus appeared from a slot. Alex hesitated, then reached for it. The moment his fingers closed, the old rhythm surged through him. His hand moved before his mind caught up, tracing the curling, jagged loops. The symbols sang inside his head, shapes pressing against his thoughts like waves against the shore. He set down the stylus, heart racing. The panel was filled with glyphs. The archivists leaned forward, some with their tendrils quivering, others with compound eyes dilating. One whispered, "Coherent syntax. Punctuation. Complete." Another clutched his translator bead. "Impossible. The fragments we have are barely ceremonial. This is living structure." Alex opened his mouth. "I don't even know what it means." The counselor's voice cut across the room. "Read it." "I can't." Alex's voice cracked. He looked down at the flowing glyphs. "I don't know what these say. They just happen." Professor Vathar bent low, refracting pale light across the panel. He spoke slowly, reverently. "This says, 'The stone does not remember, but the fire does.' A proverb of the Shitor, long lost." Murmurs spread. The archivists began arguing, their voices rising. Some suggested genetic memory embedded in Alex's DNA. Others accused humanity of secretly harboring Shitor survivors. A few muttered that Alex himself might be a reincarnation, or worse, a vessel. "Enough!" the counselor thundered. Silence fell, his gaze fixed on Alex. "You understand this places your species under suspicion. If humanity preserved Shitor knowledge, we didn't." Alex protested. His hands shook. "No one taught me this. I never even heard of Shitor before today." The counselor's voice cooled. "Then prove it is not deliberate. We will test you." Fragments of ancient inscriptions appeared on the wall. Broken phrases, missing symbols. Alex's stylus hovered, then filled in each gap without hesitation. The shapes formed themselves, precise and complete. The archivist gasped, some stepping back in fear. Vathar's voice trembled, crystalline body humming faintly. "Fluent. He writes as though born to it." One archivist spoke sharply. "This should not exist. The Shitor were eradicated for a reason. If this language still lives, then so may their corruption." Another hissed back, "Or their genius. Imagine what we could recover." Their bickering was cut short when one scholar adjusted the light spectrum across the panel. Alex's glyph shimmered faintly, edges glowing as though etched with fire. The glow pulsed once, like a heartbeat. The chamber went deathly still. The counselor staggered back. "This script is not inert." Professor Vathar whispered, "It reacts, as though it still listens." Alex stared, horrified. "It's just writing. How can it?" "Say something else," one archivist urged. "No," the counselor barked. "Contain it." But Alex's panic betrayed him. He scribbled instinctively, desperate to explain himself. The glyphs coiled into a phrase that burned brighter. He didn't even know what he'd written until the sealed side door clicked and swung open. Every alien in the room recoiled as if struck. The security locks had disengaged themselves. "I didn't mean," Alex's voice broke. "I didn't mean to." Professor Vathar's crystalline body dimmed to a shadow. "The Tarashi script is not dead. It acts." The counselor's voice was low, trembling with fury. "This is worse than forbidden knowledge. This is a weapon disguised as words." Alex pressed back into the chair, heart hammering. "I don't want this. I didn't choose it." The counselor raised a hand, signaling guards. Whether you chose it or not is irrelevant. You are either a vessel of the Shitor or something far more dangerous. Until we decide which, you are a prisoner of the Preservation Council. The guards closed in. Alex felt the weight of every stare, the fear, the awe, the hunger. He looked back at the glowing words, still warm on the panel, and for the first time, he felt them pulse inside his head, whispering in a voice only he could hear. You have opened the first door. More will follow. The chamber lights dimmed to near darkness. Hours had passed since the guards escorted Alex into a reinforced study cell, walls layered with dampening fields, inscriptions sealed against psychic leakage. He sat hunched on a slab-like bed, staring at his hands. They still tingled faintly, as though the stylus had branded them. He barely had time to gather his thoughts before the door hissed open. Professor Vathar entered, crystalline facets reflecting cold starlight. 2 archivists followed, carrying stasis prisms filled with glowing shards. Vathar spoke quietly. We argued all night. The council believes you are too dangerous to be allowed freedom, but before a verdict is reached, you must understand what you carry. The archivist placed the prisms on a table. Inside each shimmered fragments of old tablets, edges worn and symbols half erased. When projected, the glyphs cast eerie shadows on the walls. This, one archivist explained, is what remains of the Shitor. Their words were not preserved in whole. Most records were destroyed, deliberately purged by allied fleets after their empires' collapse. To write even a single coherent phrase today is beyond us. And yet, he gestured at Alex, you compose proverbs, sentences, commands. Alex swallowed hard. You make them sound like gods. Not gods, Vathar said. Tyrants. The Shitor rule with their script. Every word was command. Reality itself bent to their grammar. They built fleets that answered only to sentences spoken in Tarashi. They turned entire ecosystems to ash with a phrase. Alex felt a chill. So they were magicians? The archivist shook his head. Engineers of the impossible. Their language was code written directly into existence. Think of it as programming reality itself. Alex tried to laugh but couldn't. And now you think I could what? Reboot them. No one thinks, Vathar said, his facets dimmed. But many fear. The room thickened with silence. Alex ran a hand over his face. I don't want any of this. I just wanted to study languages, not. The words caught in his throat. Images surged unbidden. Towers of obsidian under alien suns, legions chanting as glyphs burned in the air, stars eclipsed by fleets summoned from nothing. He staggered, clutching his temples. You see them, Vathar said softly. I dream them, Alex gasped. His voice broke. Every night now. The cities, the banners, the voices. They guide me. The archivists exchanged uneasy glances. One muttered. Then the Shitor are not gone. Their language survives in him. No. Alex slammed a hand on the table. To his horror, glyphs rippled across the surface where his skin touched. The dampening fields flickered. The archivist recoiled. Vathar steadied himself. You are linked. Whether reincarnation, resonance, or something stranger, the script recognizes you. The projection screens flared. One archivist hesitated, then pushed a shard forward. Try this. It is one of our most incomplete records. Alex's hands trembled as he picked up the stylus. He looked at the fragment's broken sentence, glyphs missing in the middle, and before he realized, his hand moved, filling the gaps. The phrase completed itself. In silence, the legion waits. The shard pulsed, glowing brighter than the others. A low hum filled the chamber. Alex dropped the stylus, his pulse racing. What did I just... Vathar's body dimmed dangerously. That was a call to arms. If their legion still exists... Legions? Alex's voice cracked. The Shitor armies were bound to their script, the archivist whispered. Buried, hidden, perhaps not destroyed, waiting for the right words. Alex felt the whisper in his mind again, colder now, hungrier. You open the second door. The third awaits. He shoved back from the table, breath ragged. I can't do this. I won't. You may not have a choice, Vathar said gravely. A sudden alarm split the chamber. The walls rippled with red light. A guard burst in, mandibles clicking. Professor, outsiders breached the archives. They want the human. Alex's stomach dropped. Through the open doorway, he glimpsed alien figures in shadow, mercenaries armed with disruptors, their eyes fixed on him like predators. The professor shielded him instinctively, crystalline body refracting into jagged spines. They've come to claim the script, he growled. Alex's pulse thundered. The whispers swelled inside his mind. Glyphs burned behind his eyelids, forming a single sentence. His hand itched to write it, though he didn't understand what it meant. Speak us, and we will protect you. He clenched his fists, shaking. If he gave in, what would happen? The intruders stormed the archive chamber with precision, their boots hammering against the floor. Sleek disruptor rifles shimmered with coiled energy. Their leader, a tall saurian in matte armor, barked in a guttural tongue. Take the human alive. Kill the rest if you must. Professor Vathar flared his crystalline body, light blazing like a wall of shattered glass. The archivist scrambled to trigger containment fields, but the mercenaries fired first. Bolts of energy sizzled across the room, scattering shards and smoke. Alex ducked behind the table, hard in his throat. His hands itched, burning with the need to write. Glyphs crowded his vision, floating across the air like afterimages of stars. He squeezed his eyes shut. No, I can't. The voice answered, stronger now, echoing from every line he had ever scribbled. You must, or you will die, and so will they. The table shuddered as a bolt struck it. Alex's panic broke loose. He seized a stylus, slammed it against the floor, and scrawled the first word that erupted from his mind. The glyph blazed. A soundless boom rippled outward. Every mercenary froze mid-stride, weapons locked in place, bodies trembling but unable to move. Even the air seemed suspended, dust motes hanging like stars. Alex stared, horrified. I mean, Professor Vathar whispered, facets flickering. You commanded silence. The mercenaries' eyes bulged, straining against invisible bonds. Their leader snarled, breath ragged. Alex felt power coursing through the script, waiting for the next word. He could end them with a phrase. The whispers inside urged him. Say it. Finish what they began. Restore us, and we will restore you. But Alex's gut twisted. He wasn't Shaitor. He wasn't some tyrant emperor. He was a human kid who wanted to learn. I'm not your weapon, he hissed. He grabbed the stylus again and forced himself to write differently. Not the glyph that pressed at the edges of his thoughts, but something new, something his own. He wrote clumsy, human letters, overlaying them with fragments of Tarashi, blending them together. The result glowed unevenly, uncertain. The mercenaries vanished. Not dead, just gone, displaced in a flash of light. Silence filled the room. The archivist gaped. What did you do? I don't know, Alex admitted, panting. I rewrote the word, made it mine. The whispers in his head faltered, confused. You twist us. You change what must not change. Alex clenched the stylus until his knuckles ached. No, you don't get to decide. You don't own me. You don't own anyone. The glyphs on the floor flared brighter, then shifted. Loops bending into unfamiliar angles, lines straightening into new forms. A new alphabet was being born, something not Tarashi, but not entirely human either. Professor Vathar's body dimmed in awe. You altered the script itself. Alex nodded slowly, still trembling. If the Shaitor used this to enslave, then I'll use it to free. It doesn't have to be their language anymore. The archivists exchanged frantic looks. That is blasphemy. Or genius. Perhaps both. The counselor entered then, robes scorched from the battle above. His gaze swept across the scorched chamber, the vanished mercenaries, and the glowing hybrid glyphs. His voice was low, strained. What have you done, human? I made a choice, Alex said, his voice steady for the first time since this nightmare began. You all keep saying the Shaitor aren't dead. Maybe that's true, but they don't get to come back through me. I'll write something new, something better. The counselor's jaw tightened. Do you realize what you've unleashed? Every faction in the galaxy will come for you. For this, Alex met his gaze. Then let them come. If words are power, then maybe it's time humanity proved we could do more than just survive. The whispers in his mind retreated, faint and furious. But beneath them, a quieter hum remained, the feeling of something reshaped, waiting, not demanding but listening. His language now. He let the stylus drop, chest heaving. Around him, the chamber still glowed with the last echoes of his words. Professor Vathar finally spoke. You are not Shaitor. You are not a vessel. You are unprecedented. Alex gave a weak laugh. Guess I finally turned in homework worth noticing. No one laughed with him. The archivists were too stunned, the counselor too grim. But deep inside, Alex felt it. Not fear, not hunger, but choice. For the first time since he had picked up a pen, the words weren't pushing him forward. He was pulling them, and that made all the difference.